Okay, what up, everybody? This is Mr. Stan. Today we're going to talk about scientific notation and how we can um, do scientific notation calculations using an online calculator, right? So if you don't have a calculator, you can use a computer or a phone and solve these problems. So the first problem we're looking at today is going to be a problem straight out of your work that you've done this week. It says an infrared wave traveling through a vacuum has a frequency of 4 times 10 to the 14th. What is the wavelength? Right, and you see there on the screen the equation that you were given, and here are the numbers that we can put into that equation. Right, so c stands for the speed of light, which is going to be 3 times 10 to the 8th. Right, now how do I know it's 3 times 10 to the 8th? Because it's in a vacuum, right? A vacuum means empty space, not something you clean the floor with. Right, so every time that light is going through empty space, the speed is going to be 3 times 10 to the 8th. So that's going to be the same in every problem. Now, if light was traveling through something else, they would have to give you that speed. F is for frequency. The frequency this time is 4 times 10 to the 14th. All right, so that's our first number that's in scientific notation. Is that a big number or a small number? It's a big number. Okay, what 4 times 10 to the 14th means is you have a 4, and then you would put 14 zeros behind the 4. So we don't want to write that out all the time, and that's why we use scientific notation. Right, and then the thing we don't know is this little symbol right here that kind of looks like an upside down Y. That's the Greek letter lambda, and that stands for the wavelength. So how long the wave is from like one top of a wave to the next top of a wave. So we're going to use this equation to find the wavelength. Before we do that, we want to change the equation so the wavelength is on one side of the equal sign and everything else is on the other. And so the way that we're going to do that is we're going to divide both sides by the frequency. So when we divide the right side by the frequency, the F will be on top and bottom, and it'll cancel out, and it will look like this. Okay, so that's the equation. Now we just have to put the numbers into that equation and find the wavelength. And so you do that like this. Right, so now we come to the part where we're going to have to deal with these numbers that are in scientific notation, and we're going to have to divide them. Right, now, math teachers out there are screaming, don't use a calculator, because this is pretty simple, but we are going to use a calculator. So let me show you how to do that. Go to Google, and this works on a phone or a computer, and we're typing desmos calculator. So D-E-S-M-O-S-C-A. Okay, then another word, calculator. And when you search that, you see a graphing calculator right here, and you see a scientific calculator. Let's use the scientific calculator, right? Because that has much less confusing buttons on it, and just the buttons that we need to do scientific notation. So now we're going to type in the numbers that we had in our problem. The number on top of the fraction was 3 times 10 to the 8th. Now, to be safe, what I always do is I always put parentheses around numbers that are in scientific notation. So there's my first parenthesis. I'm going to do 3 times 10. Now that 10 needs a little 8 in the exponent. So how are we going to do that? We're going to come up to this button right here. It says a to the b power. That's the button you use for exponents. So click that button, then click 8. There you go. Then I want to end the parentheses. When I do, you notice the parentheses is at the wrong spot, and this is going to screw me up when I try to divide it. So I'm going to delete that. And what you always have to do, you have to come down and kind of click on the bottom so that your little flashing line is at the bottom, not up at the top near the 8. Then I can end the parentheses, and you see the parentheses are on the same level, so this is not going to screw things up. Okay, so that was the number on top. Now the number on bottom was 4 times 10 to the 14th. So I'm going to press the divide sign. And once again, I'm going to put parentheses on the bottom just to make sure everything gets calculated in order. And I'm going to do 4 times 10. And come back to the exponent sign, which is this button right here. Press it, and then press 14. Right? And then I'm going to click near the bottom so that that flashing line should be down at the bottom level. Then I can close the parentheses. And you see it gives us the answer over here just like that, right? 7.5 times 10 to the minus 7. So that's how long our wavelength is. Now, is that a big number or a small number? Correct, that is a small number. So the minus 7 means you would basically take the dot right here and move it 7 spaces to the left, and that would give you a bunch of zeros in front of the 7. So that'd be a small number. All right, so once again, that's desmos calculator, and choose a scientific one. All right, I'll see you again soon. We'll be probably talking about Snell's law and reflection and how to do sine and cosine in the next video. So enjoy your studies.